In today's video, we're going to be looking at 4 dangerous habits that every Christian male should be avoiding in their walk with Christ. So without further ado, let's jump straight into number 1, which is pornography. A lot of men, especially us Christian guys, know a lot about the side effects of pornography and lust and why we should avoid it, as spoken about in Matthew 5. However, I'm going to look at today in some of the more side effects which aren't spoken about as much as they should. So I want to start with an analogy. I want to imagine you've just got a brand new pet dog, and when you first get it, it's acting adventurous and it's acting territorial. But then you guys with pets will know the meaning of the word neutered, which means you get its balls cut off, which means it's no longer able to reproduce, and testosterone is no longer created within the body, which means that adventurous and feisty cat that you used to have becomes docile, weak, lazy and lethargic. And this is what happens when we overindulge in pornography. It removes that push we have to become a better version of ourselves, and our body feels satisfied sexually, so we don't have that energy to do that extra rep in the gym or to do that extra hour of work, for example. Next thing I want to talk about is how it affects our relationship within marriage. The Bible talks on multiple occasions about the importance of having a fruitful sex life. And what watching pornography trains us to do is to become an individual that watches sexual activities being done and not being the one that takes part. So the best way I like to envision this is, imagine you've got a hotel room and you've got the bed, and in the corner you've kind of got that seat which you usually put your dirty washing or your suitcase on. But what pornography trains us to do is be the individual that sits there and watches our wife or our woman being sexually active with another man while we're watching there and enjoying it, which is not a pure relationship which Christ calls us to have. He makes sexual desires to be between 2 individuals within the covenant of marriage, not 3 and one watching the individual. And finally, watching pornography almost gives you this feeling of shame, guilt and isolation. And if you're feeling these emotions, people can feel it, people can see that you're not that happy, fruitful guy which Christ tells us to be. And if you want to go out and spread about all the good news about the gospel and to spread your testimony, then you're not going to be as easy to listen to or as easy to trust if you haven't got that happy radiation, that energetic radiation, because you feel so shameful from taking part in pornography and masturbation, for example. A good leader follows his principles is a quote which I like to remember from How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which tells us that we shouldn't be someone who tells individuals to stop watching pornography but then still do it ourselves. We must practice what we preach, just to be honest and open with the people that we're talking to. So how do we overcome pornography? I'm going to make a video in the next few days going into it in more detail, but the main one is to change your identity. Don't become that individual that believes that they're addicted and they're trying to overcome their addiction. You want to believe that you're an individual that doesn't take part in it at all, and that you're a Christian male striving to become better and better each day. Secondly is to develop your relationship with Christ. If you're not doing a Bible study a day and where you're struggling with lust, then that's a very simple way to A, take an hour out of the day where you may have taken part in it, but B, to also, when you feel closer to Christ, that hole and that itch within your heart which needs itching by pornography is itched by developing your relationship with Christ and is filled with Jesus, so you don't feel that same need to take part or watch pornography. And finally, just to try and cut off your access to watching pornography, maybe block the websites, remove Safari or Google Chrome from your phone, just so it's harder to access it, and that extra steps in your trying to get to be able to watch in it can be the steps where you think, oh right, maybe I shouldn't be able to do this. So that's number one, pornography. So let's look at number two, which is being a victim, but more specifically complaining about it. It's very easy for us to think in the modern world that the world is against us. You see it with social media all the time and all the temptations that are thrown upon us day after day. But the Bible warns us that there is going to be temptations and that life is not easy. The opportunity is there to go through the wide gate and to have an easy life and spend time scrolling, watching pornography and getting drunk. But if you're watching this video, you're not the sort of person that wants an easy life and you want to be a man that's developing and seeking to become better and better every day. Following on from that, we can't have that identity thinking, poor me, or why always me. Your own thoughts are what are giving you bad mental health. So I want you to imagine two men. Both are under a great deal of stress. One of them believes that stress is a good thing and that they work more efficiently under stress and the quality of their work is a lot better. But then the second man believes that stress is bad, it leads to awful health and it causes you to die sooner and your work isn't as good quality. Who do you think would have the better mental health based on their perceptions of stress? Men have this superpower to be able to control their feelings. We're told all the time to bottle up our feelings online. Though I don't agree with this, it's right in the fact that we can control our feelings as men. And if you haven't got this superpower yet, it may be because you are quite often very heavily stimulated. But when you cut back from the high dopamine indulgent activities such as scrolling on TikTok or pornography and also take part in some meditation, you can start to stop seeing yourself as the victim and to attack the challenges which you have in hand without complaining about it. So number three is negative thinking. Many men struggle with this as their mind can be your greatest enemy, especially when you're not living a life that the Lord has called you to do. When you look into it more, you'll start to find that your mind can begin to have negative thoughts about negative thoughts, which, as you probably worked out, can start this vicious cycle where you become a bully in your own mind, telling yourself that you're not good enough and that this friend doesn't like you or so on. This is a habit that can take part throughout the day, but I'd say it happens most when you start to think about your lack of success and the lack of relationship that you have with the Lord, and your mind begins to berate you. Many guys who experience this don't know that they can control their thoughts as easy as they think. Like we talked about with the last habit, you can begin to control your thoughts through meditation and so on. And I want you to imagine your thoughts from now on like a cloud that just passes through the sky. It appears for a short amount of time and then it disappears and it will go away and you'll forget it ever happened. And meditation teaches you that your thoughts are not a reflection of who you are. And it also teaches you that you are just the observer of your thoughts and that they don't define you and that they just pass by like a cloud. So next time you have a negative thought, don't try and fight it or tell yourself that it's not true, but just let the cloud float away and just forget that it happened. And if you are the sort of person that will stick to self-improvement and develop a greater relationship with the Lord, then your thoughts will start to become more positive. For example, if you start training in the gym and you build up a nice physique, you might have thoughts about how hard you worked and how proud you are of your body, for example. Or if you work very hard on a grade in school and you get the grade which you wanted, then you can start to have more positive thoughts rather than these negative thoughts that appear time after time after time. One last thing I want to tell you from this section is you can control your thoughts with your actions, but not your actions with your thoughts. The fourth and final bad habit that I believe that every Christian man needs to avoid in their walk with faith is indecisiveness. Although indecisiveness may not seem like a bad habit on the surface, it's when you have a decision to make, and instead of making a decision and taking action on the decision that you made, you're playing around with the possible options in your head, and it's putting your mind into this mentally demanding loop that you are just stuck within. You may have heard of decision fatigue, and throughout the day we have got to make loads and loads of mini decisions. And if you're someone who's indecisive or don't have your day planned out well, then your mind is going to become weaker and weaker throughout the day because it's just getting more fatigued. I used to struggle a lot with indecisiveness, and I've started to get a bit better by planning my evenings the night before. Or planning my days the evening before is what I mean. So before I go to bed, I'll write down what time I'm going to wake up, what I'm going to do when I wake up, what am I going to have for breakfast, for example. So that decision is not needed to be made on the day in a time. So I'm wasting less time making the decisions, and less decision fatigue is being used, and I can be a lot smoother throughout the day. And also, when you have a big decision to make, I encourage you to write it down, and write down all the decisions and the facts so it's all in front of you, and with it all in one place you can come to a decision and make sure you take action on it and don't ponder on that decision for any longer than you need to. So that has been it for this video. The 4 bad habits that I believe every Christian male should avoid is pornography, being a victim and complaining about it, negative thinking, and indecisiveness. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have watched this far, I know that you will absolutely love the videos that I have planned over the next few days, and I believe that you should join the journey with me in becoming a man closer with Christ and striving to become better and better each day. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon.